Good evening, everyone. It is Felicia Carter with Lioness Creation Designs Spiritual Growth Podcast, Chakra and Love Healing Podcast, Heal Baby, Bye Bye Belly. And today we have Yasmine Millifield with us. I am so excited. She is the CEO of Womb of Peace LLC. And today we are going to be talking about several things. We are going to be talking about the divine feminine and naturopathic consulting.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm going to give you all just a couple of minutes to hop in here. I know it's like 8:02 or whatever, but it's okay because we have a special guest today and we are going to talk. Okay, y'all? So hop on in here. Let me know when you get in here. Let me know where you're tuning in from, and we'll go ahead and get Yasmin introduced to you all. So you can go ahead and start by just, telling me a little bit about yourself, and then we'll hop into the episode.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having
You're
me here.
welcome.
Um, so, my career started in holistic health back in 2010. That's when I started to facilitate sister circles for women of color. Back then, I didn't see a lot of places where we could be safe in our emotions and speak to other people that look just like us. So, when I didn't see it, I created it. And it was a beautiful experience. And then I got to train with a naturopath. Some people may be familiar with him. His name is Dr. Laila Africa. May he rest in peace. And he authored a book called African Holistic Health.
I
Yeah.
have that book.
Yes. I read his book from cover to cover and I said, I've got to train with this man. So I did it in 2011. And I'm so blessed, that I still have the original training manual with his signature and message to me. And that work has been so eye opening. To have really practiced now for about 13, 14 years is amazing. And from there, I went to study massage therapy. I got my bachelor's in psychology. And then 2014, I became a doula and I started working with midwives, hands on apprenticeship style, and became more of a mentrice, working with my naturopathic skills and my doula skills to support midwives, but also families birthing at home. So that was really where my relationship with the divine feminine was awakened in its fullest state and expression. Because when you watch yourself and you watch other women tap into this divine feminine power to give birth to new life on their terms, like you can't walk away the same. And I wanted to fully understand it. So I studied it and I became a certified tantric practitioner so that I could really understand the divine feminine and coach women in developing it in a very systemic way. And so now in my practice, I operate as a naturopathic consultant. I also train and mentor wellness professionals and birth professionals, and I run a community. Womb of Peace community. And it is a feminine sanctuary for womb healing and divine feminine power. We meet at least 2 times a month or more for healing sister circles and group coaching sessions. We do womb yoga in there and it is a robust place. And so one side I help my clients, and on the other side I help professionals. So that is what I do now.
Okay, first of all, you are very busy, it sounds like. That is a lot, okay? I was sitting here like, I did not know she was a doula too. Okay. First of all, I love it. Okay. Um, I didn't really learn much about doulas until I actually started my spiritual journey. And I've only been doing this for like what, maybe 4 years, just like coming into everything. So I've learned like a lot about doulas since though, but it's not too many of us doulas out there really, like really helping women to be able to embrace all that they're going through. So I love that. And for someone who doesn't know a whole lot about the divine feminine, like how does a woman like really come into that? Like how, like what would that entail, or is it different for everyone?
I like teaching things in systems
Hmm.
because I find that it makes it more approachable and then
Hmm.
you find yourself within that. So the
Okay.
system that I use is to look at things through archetypes because those are just ways of describing what you already have inside of you.
Mhm.
So there's nothing new to learn per se. You just have new language to describe what's within you, and then you're learning tools to activate it to a greater extent. So the way I like to introduce it is to go all the way back to puberty. We think
Mhm.
about puberty as something that's just a physical event. But
Right.
puberty is actually energetic, just like all things in the body. It starts as energy and then manifests physically and emotionally. And so, puberty on the energetic level has four main factors or houses. So, sometimes it helps to think of your whole being as a house of the feminine. Okay.
Okay.
And then there's four main rooms in that house. You could call them archetypes, you could call them
Mhm.
rooms, whatever works for your mind and how you interpret it. But when you hit puberty and that energy comes online, it's like somebody turned the electricity on in the house. And for some women, all of the rooms light up without a problem, although in our modern times, that's very rare. So for most women, we only have maybe two, sometimes three that come online. And sometimes they all come online, but not fully. So the light might be flickering in that room. And so the four archetypes are the devotee, which is like your mothering devotee type of energy. If you're familiar with the planets, that's like the moon, all
Okay.
right, in astrology. The next one is your ability to conserve your energy for self care. Some people call this the dark feminine. You can think of this like Saturn energy. This is also the matriarch or the wise woman, the herbalist, the healer, that woman that easily says no to everybody so that she can do her own thing.
Okay.
That woman, her room in that Saturn room, it came on right away in puberty. And if your room came on right away in the mother room, you were that one that you nurtured everybody. Everybody was your baby. You were babysitting from an early age, or you were playing with your baby dolls and
Mhm.
pretending, you know. And so the next one is the lover. This is like, if you think about Ifa and the Yoruba, this is
Mhm.
like Oshun. A lot of people are familiar with Oshun and the
Yeah.
beauty and the sensuality, like Venus energy. Unfortunately, especially for most women of color and the women in the diaspora, our lover energy definitely comes online, but then it gets shut down by religion, um, parenting that doesn't allow for the expression of our movement. When you look at indigenous cultures, women were originally half naked. They were moving in all their sensual
Mhm.
glory, hip thrusting and moving, and circles were a natural part of the woman's expression from an early age. But
Okay.
in this society, that can be unsafe. We're trying to protect our daughters. Don't be fast. Don't bring this unwanted negative attention to yourself, daughter. You should be ashamed. You being fast out here. We get told so many negative messages. So for my daughter, I made sure that I made space for her lover. We practiced. How do you do dance? What is twerking? What is indigenous dance? Belly dancing, to give her expression and to understand that when you love looking in the mirror, that's natural. You should be able to do that without somebody making that a negative thing or making you feel like
Mhm.
you're absorbed. Because there's power in our beauty, there's power in our sensuality. So, that lover energy, when it is disrupted, it is one of the major energetic roots to womb issues such as PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, because it governs our creative energy, our fertility. And so that house, that room in the house is so important for Black women, especially because we get it shut down and we have a lot of healing to do in that area. And we usually show up in the shadow side of the Venus energy, where we express our sensuality to exert power, but we're not really tapping into the deeper layers of that power on the light side of it. So when you start to really go deep into what this Venus energy is for, on the surface, it is about our sensuality, our fertility, our beauty, and it's a beautiful introduction, but it is a precursor to something that is more powerful than that. So when you look again at Ifa, they usually picture the Black woman with cowrie shells on her face when they show you pictures of Oshun. And what that represents is Oshun's ability to go into healing trance states where she can go in contact with her ancestors. And so when you think about the element that they associate with Oshun, it's water, it's specifically fresh waters and running water, rivers. This represents, yes, the waters of the earth, but it's also the blood flowing in your veins. You are the river embodied. And so when you go deep into your rivers, you activate your DNA and you have strong healing magnetism where the souls that you contracted with before you incarnated here are attracted to work with you, be in your presence. And so the last one is the house or the room of Ma'at or your visionary capacity. This is tied into our ability to call in high finance, abundance, large sums of money, but also to be able to download blueprints from the Akashic records to be able to understand how to achieve our goals in life, but also how to build community. So a lot of women, they're born with sometimes the lover online and maybe the conservationist or that dark feminine energy online, but then this matriarchal visionary energy never comes online. So they're really good at taking care of themselves, but lack the ability to build genuine community and sisterhood. And they need to activate this part of their feminine power so they can heal the sisterhood wounds that they have experienced and be able to bond deeply with other women. So that's how I introduce it from its beginning to understand the framework, and then you start with one archetype at a time and self assess and say, where am I with my moon, with my Venus, with my Saturn? And that last archetype is Jupiter.
Okay.
And then you say, okay, maybe my Jupiter is a little lacking. That was my self assessment where I started my work to cultivate that energy.
Oh, look, just in that time that you were speaking, I learned so much already. And it's so crazy because when you were talking about like PCOS and like the womb issues that we have and things like that, sorry, I'm trying to make sure that this laptop does not die on me. Um, I was sitting here and I was like, I did not know that that is what caused so many issues because I have PCOS. Like I did have fibroids, but I had a hysterectomy, a partial hysterectomy before I really knew about, actually healing our womb through like natural herbs and things like that. So now it's like, oh my gosh, like I really wish that I had known about that stuff like during my journey. You know, I had the partial hysterectomy after I started, but I didn't know that much about, like healing ourselves that in, naturally internally. So is hearing you say that about, our feminine, our divine feminine, and being able to really tie all of those together and where it stems from, it makes so much sense. And my daughter, she's 14. And so she started her cycle young. She was early like me, like 10 years old, like, and she's having the same issues that are happening, I believe, you know. So it's like, okay, well, I'm able to probably go ahead and catch that stuff before it gets to that point. So it's just like, you know, the more you know, it's like, okay, like you can change so much.
Yes.
And when you don't know, when you don't have people like yourself or other women out there who are teaching other women about this stuff, we're just walking around like, you know,
Mhm.
man, I gotta deal with this, you know, I gotta do this. So it's so beautiful. And then I noticed like when you were talking, I was like, I could see how much you enjoy it. And that is the part that I loved about it, you know, because we're out here, grown adults, doing things that we don't want to do, you know. But when you see someone and they love what they're doing and they enjoy it, you can tell and you can see that. And that's the part that I appreciate. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Like, I'm sorry, like, I'm that person. I just be like, look, yes. But I'm so glad to have you here. Let me see if there are any questions or anything like that real quick. Like I said, I just kind of go with it. I never set any questions. I think you're doing amazing though. Like I don't know. I just want to know everything pretty much.
Well, I will also say that, especially with PCOS, let's kind of diverge that a little.
Yeah. Okay.
PCOS, you always want to take a look at the moon archetype as well. And
Okay.
this is usually when that moon archetype is out of balance.
Hmm.
So a lot of women with PCOS are overgivers and
Okay.
overlovers. And
Mhm.
70% of the women with PCOS, on a physiological level, it starts with insulin resistance. So there's four
Mhm.
subtypes. You have insulin resistant PCOS. There's adrenal. So this is where your adrenal glands are responding to long periods of chronic stress. And so they begin to be fatigued and they cause you to pump out excess male hormones called androgens.
Mhm.
Um, some women present with PCOS and they don't have weight gain. So, oh no, I don't have that. Oh, yes, you do, mama.
Mhm.
Called lean PCOS for a reason. So we all can present with it very differently, but same issue. And
Mhm.
then you have inflammatory PCOS, where inflammation is causing the excess male hormones. And the last one is when somebody has come off of birth control pills and it's causing a temporary elevation in androgens. And that can resolve in 4 to 6 months as long as you're doing what you need to do to heal post birth control. So let's rewind back. Insulin resistance PCOS, most common form, remember? So in traditional Chinese medicine, insulin
Mhm.
resistance is literally called being too sweet. You are too nurturing. You lack boundaries. It's hard to say no to other people. So when we think about those four feminine archetypes, remember the dark feminine is a part of you that does know how to say no. But what happens to a woman who doesn't have their dark feminine energy online, who has no ability to insert a boundary and tell somebody, no, I'm tired, or no, I need to prioritize myself. No, I can't take on that extra whatever, or you don't allow somebody to mature. And a lot of times, women with PCOS will give another person compassion when they really need justice. And so we will insert compassion to other people who really just need to mature and evolve. And what happens with that is we put ourselves in between them and justice. And so karmically, we become tied into what was supposed to just be their consequence of their actions. And we lose life force energy and it saps our creativity and it overburdens our nurturing and compassionate instincts. So again, we're too sweet. And so when you want to heal things like PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids without medication, without invasive procedures, you have to dig up the energetic roots. It goes far beyond your physiology and look deeper. And you're not the first person in your bloodline to display these behaviors.
Right.
It is passed down in your matrilineal line. And so we do a lot of mother wound healing in the community because we have to pull all the way through the bloodline. And so, again, those waters, the DNA, you have access to all of that. And it's your power to go in and heal 7 generations back, 7 generations forward, and your present self. And so, with your daughter, if I was in your shoes, what I would do is at night when I'm in that between state and I'm kind of sleepy, that's when my mind is the most programmable and I can go into the deepest state of trance. But between 9 and 12 p.m. at night is also when that mother moon energy is at its highest. And I would sit and I'd put one hand on my womb and one hand over my heart. It doesn't matter if you've had a partial or a full hysterectomy. You have an auric, energetic womb, and it is
Okay.
as powerful as a woman who has a physical womb. So never
Okay.
feel like
Right.
your divine feminine power is in some way deficient because of this procedure. And I would talk into my womb and I would rebirth my daughter's health. And I would envision her having easy, symptomless, pain free cycles,
Mhm.
embracing natural remedies. And I do this every night until she's well. And that's a prime example of using your divine feminine energy. That's what
Oh
it's
my
like.
God. I love it. I love that so much. I'm sorry. I probably should have said too. And I didn't know that I was going to get emotional at all. I never know when that's going to happen. I'm super emotional. So sometimes when I hear things, it triggers me a little bit. Not trigger, because that's not the right word that I'm looking for. But um, just when you said, it doesn't make you less, like, that's something I've been dealing with since I had it.
Mhm,
But it's something that when I had it, I felt like I didn't have a choice
mhm,
because of all of like the pain and the symptoms that I was going through. So just hearing you say that, I was like, okay, I can do that,
mhm.
Wow.
And what's so
Child.
beautiful about this is that this method of tapping into your divine feminine power, I've used it
Mhm,
for so many different things.
mhm,
Usually we talk about how to manifest something like money or a house or a
mhm.
car, but you don't hear it usually talked about in this
Right.
way, where all of that potent energy that you possess can be redirected to change the trajectory of your DNA and your offspring. And so what I've noticed is I usually would experience it with my mother and my
Mhm.
daughter, where anytime I'd set off on to heal something within me, they gonna get triggered and they healing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But recently I've noticed that it happens with the men in my family
Mhm.
as well. I think just because I don't live with them, I
Yeah.
didn't see it, but now I spend more time with them. So I
Yeah.
see it happen real time. And so what I want to point out is the emotional reality that we
Mhm.
have about the past is more important than what happened.
Mhm.
So divine feminine power means that that emotional energy that you have when you say, "Oh, I'm so emotional," never apologize about that again, because every emotion is
Mhm.
associated with the feminine archetype.
Okay.
So that moon energy, she
Yeah.
governs sadness. That's her emotion. So whenever you feel sadness coming up, that's actually your moon energy rising up within you for you to direct it as you see fit. So, for example, with having a partial hysterectomy, if I were you, that's what I would do. Again, in those mother hours, 9 to 12 p.m., I get in my meditative state. I'd play the mantra that's associated with her energy is Dhum, Dhum, Dhum. That's her mantra. And I'd put myself in a deep meditative place. And I'd go back to that day and I would change my entire experience. But I'd focus on the emotional experience of it. So instead of having the narrative that I did not have a choice, I would literally flip that.
Mhm.
I chose this as my path of healing. That's what
Okay.
my spirit chose at
Okay.
the time. And I
Okay.
would embrace every choice I made like it was on purpose,
Yeah.
what I needed, because I needed to go through that so I could earn those stripes. And then sisters that have been through the same experience can
Mhm.
witness my healing, come in resonance with me, and quantum leap forward to their healing. So I've done this to heal from molestation, where instead of picturing myself being molested, I pictured myself being laid in a river surrounded by flowers with sunlight gleaming through the leaves. And that person, he put his hands over me and he just prayed and he blessed me. And he blessed me and anointed me in my entrance into puberty. And I would sit with that vision every night until it became so emotionally charged that when I would see it, I would cry tears of joy, literally. And what that does is it brings the power of the lover, the Venus energy, that mama to the surface of my being. And it gives life to this new vision in my subconscious mind. And because the mind doesn't know the difference between a vision and a memory, it will latch on to whatever is the most emotionally charged in your mind. And that old neural pathway, the old memory of being molested, is there, but it's like an old road that no longer gets used. Now my brain goes to the new vision as if it was the original memory. And I've reprogrammed my emotional reality. So I was able to sit in front of this individual recently, and he came to me and just said, "Thank you," with tears rolling down his eyes. And I held his hand and I said, "I love you, and I want you to have peace like I have." And in that moment, it was complete integration because it was the same feeling that I had programmed into myself on the emotional and the mental level, made manifest in the physical reality. So, this is a great example because what happens is emotionally, you begin to broadcast into the world a
Mhm.
different way. Women are always broadcasting emotionally. We broadcast out from the breast, from the womb, from the mind. And this auric body that's so huge, like Erica Badu said, I'm 20 feet tall. This energy is huge and radiating. And so when you walk into a room, whatever's programmed here is what's broadcasting out. And the universe and humanity responds in the masculine way to what we put out. You have complete control over your emotional reality about having a partial hysterectomy. And what I want anyone who's listening to grasp is this: it's your imagination. No one dictates what you imagine, right? It's yours. So, whatever you wanted it to be, get crazy. Go how far you want it to look and feel, because whatever you're reprogramming into yourself will eventually and absolutely become your new reality. So, you want it to be what you want it to be in the future. Sometimes this type of work can take a decade. I did not do just this. I did trauma therapy and flower essences and time
Mhm.
sun and whispering my prayers at the river. Like it was a whole thing. But this is a huge part of it because you start to believe the new vision and the new emotional reality more than you do the physical past. So I really want to invite you to shift that after today, even this evening.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I have to say that again.
Oh yeah. I do my meditation every night. So look, I will definitely be doing that. Definitely.
I do see
Can you hear me?
something.
Oh, mhm.
I see some things in the chat.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Good evening, y'all. Sorry, I'm not ignoring y'all. I promise. Just this is so like I don't even know. I wasn't even expecting this. I knew the podcast was gonna be good. Like, don't get me wrong, but I was not expecting the depth because, like I said, I didn't know that much about the divine feminine. I've seen it, read a little bit about it, but I didn't know the extent of it. And everything that you are talking about just is resonating so much right now. Yes. So there are some comments in here. So let's see. We Melody, she said, "Thank you so much for this." So she's been here for a little while. If she's still here, she said that her daughter was 14 as well, and she started her cycle early as well. Yeah, it could be hard starting your cycle
Let's
so
go to
young.
real quick with your daughter,
Hmm.
daughter starting their cycles.
That's
So
true.
most young women start some level of hormonal dysregulation around the age of 8,
Hmm.
just because of the food and toxins and the way that we live life is very counterintuitive to our physiological needs.
Right.
So what I would start doing for our young ones is to get them on nourishing herbs as early as 8 and 7.
Oof.
And so some of those herbs are like red raspberry leaf, nettle leaf, oat straw is great. Calendula is really good, especially if they're having early signs of skin issues or acne. Calendula is a slight blood cleanser and it also nourishes and heals the skin.
Okay.
So those are some good basic ones. You can go to nourishingheralinfusions.com and there's an herbalist there. Her name is Susan Weed, and she talks about how to make herbal infusions. I
One
would,
more time.
hmm,
Nourishing.
herbal.
Hmm.
I think I can write it right.
Yeah, you should be able to. I was trying to type it, but a little slow.
To you, maybe.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
And I could check it.
Yes, and so she'll teach you how to make the infusions, and I would involve them in the process of how to do this. Help them build relationship with each of the herbs to understand the medicine.
Hmm.
When you're making the herbal infusions, you can play ocean sounds, you can play like soothing music, the sacral chakra mantra is good, and that's going to infuse those herbs with the energy of the moon and the Venus mother energies. That's going to make them even more potent for them to drink and heal. And you can say prayers with them at that time and begin teaching them the ways of the feminine very early. And so, one thing I did with my daughter, as soon as she got her cycle, we downloaded a cycle tracking app. She chose the one she wanted, and she's been tracking her cycle. So she knows that there's 4 segments to her cycle, when she is fertile, the signs of fertility, what's happening with her breast, all of that. She's aware. And I find that it makes them so much more comfortable with their bodies. You want them to be introduced to some of the more bitter remedies early
Hmm.
on. introduce it as medicine and necessary, and how these herbal remedies don't always taste good, but sometimes, as one of my good friends, Deneen, is here, bitter is better. I feel the same way. Sometimes with medicine, herbal medicine, bitter is often better. So we want to teach them to respect the remedies early. That's a really simple way to get them started to having some symptom relief, just that alone.
Oh, definitely. I don't want to skip the questions, but while you were talking about that, it looks like uh, Lenine, she said,
Mhm.
"What about marigold? Is this a good herb or flower for the skin?"
I want to say that it's similar to calendula, but I'm not as versed in marigold.
Okay,
Mhm.
gotcha. All right, and then we had after that, she did also ask. She says she often forget that many women don't know about their connections to their bodies. And Yasmin is speaking the truth. I have learned so much from her. All right, that's good because just in this, what, like 37 minutes, I have learned a lot. And I'm sitting here like, look, I should have
Hmm.
been looking into this. Okay, I see I see the link. So I'm gonna go ahead and post that.
Okay, so Remy said that she menstruates very heavy. She's been off the repo for years, but now they're saying that they see a fibroid. She drinks herbal teas. So I would first make sure you're getting your lab work done. Sometimes I know we have bad experiences with providers, but I just want to encourage you before you go to see your provider, make a phone call and start a conversation. Ask them if they are in support of natural healing methods, of natural remedies, and gauge their response to that question. If they're not supportive, don't even waste your time going. If they are supportive, I would go ahead and explore that as a possible provider relationship. I recommend that you work with reproductive endocrinologists when you are having reproductive issues, womb issues. They tend to, on average, be more effective than just an OBGYN. Of course, there's exceptions, but on average, this is where I see the best work done. And so when you go in to see them, you want to ask to get a hormonal panel done. You want to get your inflammation levels looked at, your thyroid hormone levels as well, just to make sure that everything is within balance. Now, once you get these levels back, they may tell you that everything looks normal, even though your body is telling you it's not normal. Understand that these lab values are just norms. They have taken the average of everyone that's been tested across a certain span of time, and they take the average of that. In the middle of that bell curve is the norm. If you're in that normal range, they're going to say it's normal, but that's not the same thing as your functionality, and it's not the same thing as optimal ranges. So when I'm working with clients, I look at naturopathic ranges for optimal functioning. Just because it's normal doesn't mean that you should ignore your body's symptoms. Your symptoms are always more important than lab work or a medical provider's opinion. Often, we as women of color are ignored. So, do not ignore yourself, even if a provider is ignoring you. We have seen too many women die needlessly, unheard. So we have to advocate for ourselves, but we do not need to abandon the benefit of lab work and having a good medical opinion. So you go in there in your authority. And this is when you step into the matriarch energy within yourself. You felt it. There's times when you've had to take leadership as a woman. You have to then take that same ability to take leadership and put it with yourself. Walk into that medical room in charge of your health and requesting what you need in terms of communication, how they speak with you, what tests you need done. And if all fails, reach out to me. I have a link to an independent facility that will do your lab work. All you have to do is tell them what you want done, pay a fee, and you have your lab work done. So there's never a reason not to know what's going on. And we do need to know what's going on.
Yes.
You don't want to use herbs like throwing spaghetti at the wall. You could be using an herb thinking you're doing yourself a benefit and exacerbating the issue. For example, let's say you have a growth and you're trying to diminish it, and then you go take Vitex, which may not be the right remedy to take because it could actually make it worse, for example. So we don't want to just throw spaghetti at the wall and just hope. No, I do not abandon all of my resources. As leaders, as Black women, as the ancestral gender, as the original mothers on this planet, all resources in the earthly domain are ours to use. And that includes the medical system. So do not ever let anybody in that system downplay you or minimize what you're saying. Or don't feel afraid to get test results. Whatever is showing on the test is just data. It's like what I would tell my mamas when we're preparing to have a baby. When you're in labor, do not let these folks check your cervix, please, ma'am. It is unnecessary because all that they're telling you is what the cervix did, not what it's about to do. So I don't allow anyone to check my cervix when I'm in labor, and I highly encourage my clients not to do that either. Not even in high risk situations. It's unnecessary. It is not going to change the birth outcome. Matter of fact, it can make it worse.
Oh,
So when you're looking at your lab work and your results, let's say you go get a mammogram or a thermogram, that's where you get your breast tested and there's no radiation in that test, and you get your results back. Let's say you have a mass. All that's telling you is what your body did before that test up to that date. It's not dictating how you will be in a month or a year or 5 years from now. But now you understand what your body's been doing in a better way. And now you can act accordingly, as my auntie would say. So never let the test results make you so afraid that you don't get the test done, because we need to know in order to inform our decisions and what herbs to take, what foods to eat, how to adjust your lifestyle. We don't need to shoot in the dark. And so this is true for our babies. If your young lady is having symptoms, get her lab work done. Do not let these people put her on birth control, metformin, none of this mess. All of it can be reversed through herbs, dietary changes, lifestyle changes, and these spiritual practices that we're talking about today.
yes, I love it because when you were talking about being an advocate for yourself, I had to do that with my doctor. And I had a woman doctor and she was a woman of color. And I kept telling her, like, even after ultrasound, I knew I had cysts, that I was like, okay, that, that's normal. I've been having those. But I was like, something else going on. I was like, I don't feel right. I'm always tired. I'm always cramping. I bleed real heavy. Like it was so much going on. I was like, I don't know what's wrong. I said, it's something else. It's more than. And she wasn't listening. Okay, we'll do another ultrasound. Okay, we'll check. Everything looks normal. And I was like, you know what? No. Like I was like, I'm gonna go somewhere else. I went to a whole nother doctor because I was like, you're not listening to me, you know? And I went and I had like three fibroids. And one of them was like, I think, it was at least 2 to 3 centimeters or something like that. And then
Right.
the other two were smaller, but I was like, I knew I was in pain for a reason. Like, there's no reason why I feel like I want to pass out just from cramps. I was like, that's not normal. Yeah. So we definitely have to advocate for ourselves. And I've been trying to also, advocate for my daughter, trying to figure out, like what's going on with her. I was like, I don't want her on birth control. I would like it to be something, a little bit more natural. It's not completely there yet, but just even hearing this information is going to make me, like look into it even more, because I definitely want her to be at her healthiest. I want her to feel better. I don't want her to go through the struggles that I've been going through, my mom went through, my sister went through. I don't want all that. So
Right.
yeah, everybody is loving you first. I just want to say, she said, I absolutely love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So beautifully powerful. And this really is, this whole discussion is just, it's
Mm.
very powerful. Like I had no idea that it was this deep, but I'm so glad that and the crazy part is people don't even know how we met, and we haven't known each other that long, but it feel like we were supposed to. This was supposed to happen. Okay, I was supposed to know this information. You were supposed to come on this podcast and give me what I needed. Okay, because this is what I needed to make my transformation. I know it. So all I'm saying, thank you, because this is beautiful, and
Thank
and
you.
and people love it. Okay, yes, this is absolutely amazing. Hey, hey, thank y'all so much for coming on. Please, 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 if y'all have not, please heart this live and share it out, because women need to notice. And even, you know what, I'm not going to just say women. Men need to notice as well, okay? Because this is how you figure out what's going on. Talk to your women in your life, not just your partners or spouses or romantic people, your mothers, your aunts, children, sisters, whoever you have in your life. Go ahead, find out what's going on, because we have a lot going on sometimes. And a lot of the times we not just snapping on you for no reason. We're not just getting angry for no reason. It's things going on with us. And knowing how to heal ourselves is something that we need to know. And if we don't know how to heal ourselves, we just walking around angry. We don't know what's going on, So
Yes,
what
and
would
I
you say for people who cry a lot?
so to go back to what we were talking about in terms of every emotion is governed by one of the mothers.
Mhm.
Tears, of course, have different meanings, but in terms of sadness, it can be a sign of sadness, but tears can also be repressed anger. So we
Yes.
want to take a moment to really gauge like which emotion is behind the tears. Is it fear, anxiety, anger, sadness? But either way, you want to allow those emotions to fully express themselves through your body. Emotions are altered states of consciousness. So, just like I was talking about, how going into a trance state allows you to heal and use your divine feminine power for healing. Every time you have an emotion, you're not in the same state of consciousness as when you have a neutral place emotionally, right? So think about how you feel in your awareness when you're angry, how you feel when you're sad, when you're afraid. And so when you go into altered states of consciousness via emotion, the beautiful thing is you now get to choose how to use that emotional energy or that power and what you want to use it to fuel. And so what I've started doing probably for about 8 years now, by and large, is I give my emotions direction. So I'll go and I'll let that emotion take me into that altered state. And then I will visualize what I've been wanting to manifest. So instead of I'm sad about X, Y, and Z happening, I'll just let the sadness fuel what I do want to create in my reality. And so you can dedicate each tier towards what you do want versus what you don't want in your life. And the way you do that is simply, again, imagine what you would like to happen, how you want to feel as you're crying. So it does take emotional and mental discipline, because you have to detach what your mind originally associated as the meaning behind that emotion and tears, and now reassign that energy to something different. But on a physiological level, you might want to take a look at your blood work and see what's going on with your blood sugar. You want to make sure that it's not a blood sugar imbalance. You want to see if you're dealing with insulin resistance. Oh, thanks, Shanna. I'm glad you're here too.
All right. Oops. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. Um. Yes. Sorry. She said, "Good evening. This is juicy. Yes, it does get very deep. Thank you so much for tuning in, y'all. We appreciate it." Okay, she said, like how they suppress this energy and are afraid for us to tap into it. Um, yeah, I forgot what that was about, but yeah. All right, and she said, I can't wait to catch the replay. Appreciate it. All right. So we got a couple of those fun comments.
Yeah, I saw
Let's
those.
see. Yeah. But we gonna stick with the positive ones, and then I'm gonna sort through the rest because I don't, I can't today.
Yeah, it's all right.
um, let's see if there's anything good. Size of maybe don't eat 3 days of menstruating. She said she had fibroids too. And it's so crazy how common fibroids are, and it really shouldn't be. But like you said, diet and a lot of things that we go through, stress, all that stuff have to do with the way that our body is reacting.
So
So
a big
it's
part of this
definitely.
is to look at, again, going back to your blood work, the ratio
Mhm.
between your estrogen and progesterone can set the stage for the development of fibroids. So if you have, they should be closer to 1 to 1. But if estrogen is higher in that ratio versus progesterone, then your hormones are becoming imbalanced, and this sets the stage for the development of fibroids. So that's called estrogen dominance. A lot of women are dealing with it.
Yeah.
You have to be very mindful to look at your lab work yourself. I have done holistic health assessments where I have seen it and the provider did not point it out. And so you want to be on top of your lab work. But outside of that, some things you can do to begin addressing
Yeah.
estrogen dominance is to look at progesterone. So progesterone is produced so that we can be nice and calm during that time where we're transitioning to our menstrual cycle. If you're having PMS, you're moody, that's a huge indicator that your progesterone levels are too low. So some things you can do is during that 2 weeks prior to your menstrual
Mhm.
cycle is eat foods that are non-starchy or starchy vegetables and increase a healthy amount of
Yeah.
carbohydrates and a good amount of vegetables in your diet. So I suggest getting in a 7 to 10 servings of vegetables a day during that 2 week period, bare minimum, to support your body in producing sufficient progesterone, but also to support eliminating excess estrogen out of the colon. And so, one thing you'll do is emphasize cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, cabbage. All of those veggies are really good for being able to balance that progesterone and estrogen. So Shanna, what I would look at
Okay,
if
I
you
love it.
hair growing in places where it shouldn't be, is balancing that your glucose. So you want to get your
All
glucose.
over.
You want to get that A1C out of the diabetic range, which is going to heal the insulin resistance, and that's going to make sure your hair is growing in the right place. So I see people reversing diabetes every week. It is absolutely possible.
Mm,
So be encouraged. You can definitely do something about that.
good, because I'm tired of this. I'm for sure. I clean it weekly, sometimes multiple times a week. Okay. And the crazy part is that, like, I thought after I had the partial hysterectomy, I thought my PCOS was just going to be cleared up. And to my surprise, it was not. I was like, oh, it's still here.
Yep.
And I was like, what is going on? But that makes so much sense. I'm definitely going to go back, look at this live again, the replay, and I'm definitely going to take some notes because I just feel like, you're so knowledgeable, and just being able to share this information with us is really going to help, if even one person, it's going to help somebody. So I definitely appreciate you coming on here and, like, taking me up on the offer to come on the podcast and speak today. Like, I love this. I've gotten so much just out of being able to speak to you and listen to you, and just, you're just here sharing little nuggets, which I appreciate, because, a lot of us, we don't have to do this, we don't have to give the information out, but, that's what it's all about. And just being like, hey, like, I can share, like, a little bit of what I know. But definitely, if you have any classes, courses, or anything like that, please, please feel free to share with us. Like, how we can get in contact with you, how we can, get a course or something, because I know somebody gonna be like, how do I how do I do this? And we need to know, like, how can we go about that? Like, we need the
Yes.
information.
Okay. Yes, I'm excited to share. So if you need one-to-one support, I do have 2 slots open for that. We can work in 3 or 6 month segment one-to-one. In the 6 month segment, I also work with a holistic fitness coach. So if you need personal training and healing for your fitness, you can also work with that as well, in addition to my coaching and naturopathic consulting. And what's so cool is that this fitness coach was trained by Dr. Africa as well. So we operate from the same exact paradigm, and you'll have that. And how priceless is that? Where your personal trainer, well, really, he's a fitness coach, which is so different. Is on the same page as your health coach and your consultant. And so for the 3 months, that's like if you have one main goal you'd like to reach, like um, maybe you want to work on balancing estrogen and progesterone, you want to heal anemia, you want to do some body recomposition. That's like a 6 month endeavor. You want to reverse diabetes, we need at least 6 months for that. And then I do have a community, my Womb of Peace community, and it is like a sanctuary. It is a sacred space. So if you just want to work on your personal wellness, then you'll come in on the client side, and it's called Sacred Rising. And that's where we do all of the main events in terms of group coaching. For example, yesterday we talked about nutrition and womb healing, such an eye opening class. Excuse me. And this is where you'll also be connected in the group chat with other women. So you'll be supported in sisterhood. Excuse me. And then if you are an aspiring or current wellness professional or birth professional, you can come on the side called Mother Goddess Matriarch. And in MGM, this is where we do a deep dive into the divine feminine. We do rituals and healing ceremonies together. We do activations. For example, with the summer solstice, we just did a starseed DNA activation, and it was so powerful to bring in the cosmic and combine it with the earthly. and activate our divinity and really connect with those four mothers that we talked about today. We did a deeper connection with that because those four mothers that are within us are also in nature and the cosmos. So you want to connect with that outer mother energy to bring it into congruence with your internal mother energy. And we did that on the summer solstice. And so on the wellness professional side, if you love this style of coaching and consulting and helping people, I am actually for the first time training people in my methods. So you will learn exactly what I learned from Dr. Africa, but also everything that I've learned since. So we will learn how to take the divine feminine archetypes and apply them to physical healing. I'm teaching them in the skills of naturopathic consulting to be able to do assessments and create treatment plans for their clientele, but also how to use the oracle system from ancient Kemet, which is Egypt. How to use that oracle system in healing. So it's not about like projecting the future, it's looking at what is the energy governing the healing of fibroids for this client and helping that client look at the energetic roots of their illness and be able to work through that again to pull up the roots and not have to deal with it anymore, not just you, but your DNA and your future, your legacy, your children, not having to deal with it no more. So we're going to learn how to use that oracle system. We're going to do a deep dive into the medical and holistic use of the divine feminine archetypes. So I call it archetypal medicine. We're going to get into that. I'm going to teach them coaching skills because I am a health coach, which is different from a consultant. You have to create treatment plans, but then what happens when you deliver the treatment plan, someone has to implement that, and that takes behavior change. So you need the skill sets on how to assist your client in making behavior changes so that they make a lifestyle change. What's the point of a treatment plan if nobody ever puts it into action? We're then going to get into business building. Behind the scenes, I've helped a lot of business owners be able to start their practices. And so now I'm formalizing that and doing it in an even more, I guess, overt way where we're learning Facebook audience building and how to create your systems, how to have a sales system, a marketing system, a client management system. Because if you want to be a practitioner, you're now a business owner. So you need those skill sets too. And I will not leave you hanging. And so then you'll get 12 weeks of mentorship with me afterwards to make sure that all of this knowledge you've now acquired is integrated, and then you're going to execute it with me. So, and then that also includes a year of membership in my community. So that way you can work on your personal health goals while you're developing your professional practice. You'll have a community to support you as you grow on both sides of the fence. But this is also so that you get hands on practice with coaching clients. And you get to do assessments with new people that you invite into the community. You get a 50% affiliate commission on all people that you enroll in the community, and they become your clients within the greater community. What I want is for each mentee and trainee that comes with me, I want her to have a hub within the Womb of Peace ecosystem and community of all the women that she invites in. They will be hers. That'll be her village to tend to, but I'll still be there so that if you need some help and assistance as you're growing, I'll be there for a full year, bare minimum. So this is a new endeavor for me, but it's right on par with where I'm at. Being 14 years in, it's time to elevate as a trainer and a mentor, to pass on this legacy of knowledge and understanding. And lastly, I train doulas. So I contracted with the National Black Doula Association this year, and I train their doulas on holistic fertility as well as postpartum care. So if you're interested in entering the field of birth work, just go to the MBDA's website. I am a listed trainer. You'll see all the dates for my trainings, and you can come and train with me. And then when you're done, you can come and have mentorship, and I'll be available to still help you after that. So those are all my offerings. If you need me, just go to
Yes.
my personal Facebook page and send me a DM. Or if you want to book a naturopathic consult, please reach out. But I'll also send the link for you to leave underneath this for anyone to book a consultation directly. And that is a free consult.
Okay. Yes. Like I love it. I love it. It was one question about how to combat low iron.
Mhm.
Not,
So,
yeah.
okay, with low iron, what you would like to look at is building the blood. You can do that through nutrition. You can use nettle leaf. You can use alfalfa leaf, is great for this. That same herbalist that created Nourishing Herbal Infusions, if you look her up, she has an anemia brew. It's an herbal brew recipe that is great for reversing this. And also, there's a supplement that I love use it with my pregnant mamas because it's so gentle, but it works very fast. And when you're pregnant, you got to get those iron levels up quickly. And it's called Hemaplex, Hemaplex. If you are okay with animal products, I recommend using liver. You can either eat it or you can get it in a powdered form, and you can take it as a capsule. I've also seen this work very quickly. Me personally, I love liver capsules. This, I think you can see it. It's not a commission. I don't get anything by recommending this, but this brand is called Heart and Soil. And this particular supplement is called Her Package. And it has liver, kidney, uterus, ovaries, and fallopian tubes from grass fed cows and grass fed sheep. And so the benefit of that is building the blood, but it also is a natural form of hormone therapy. So it will help you to balance your hormones in addition to addressing low iron. I can say that many women who have low iron and anemia, um, A, they usually have low blood pressure. B, they're usually just undernourished in general. And so if you're eating below 2,500 calories a day, if you're not getting adequate protein, for most people, that's between 100 to 120 grams of protein per day. If you're not getting enough, you will naturally start to see your nutrient levels drop, not just iron. Okay. And that is plant or animal based. I don't care where you get it from. Please get adequate protein. And then, of course, the servings of vegetables we talked about, 7 to 10 servings of vegetables. You also want to get healthy fats. Do not be afraid of fats because we need fat to absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K. It's very hard to re-nourish a depleted body without these fat soluble vitamins. So you want to eat, if you do eat animal foods, choose the fatty cut of meat. Even if you don't add fat to that meal, you're going to get the fat that helps you absorb the vitamins. If you're plant based, add you a little bit of ghee on top of that bowl of lentils. You're going to get so much more nutrient absorption from what you're eating. So do not skimp on fats. Lastly, with fats, it does help us to build hormones. So when you're eating saturated fats, especially animal fats, it's rich in cholesterol, which we need cholesterol to build hormones. And so, if you've been deficient and undernourished and depleted for many years, and you've been plant based or even vegan, and you are not seeing an improvement in your health, I want to encourage you to explore animal foods as medicinal foods. This has been so crucial in my personal journey. I was a raw vegan from 2006 to 2015, and I healed so much from that, but it didn't do everything for me. And when I got pregnant and I had my sons, I was pregnant and or breastfeeding for 4 years straight. And the nutrition I was getting from plant foods just wasn't enough. And it sent me on a deep dive to fully understand indigenous nutrition. So I read a book called Nourishing Fats, by Sally Fallon. That's a very good read, as well as understanding the work of Weston A. Price. Weston A. Price. Those are two really good ways to research, so you can fully understand if you are in this camp where plant-based foods are not cutting it for you. This is not everybody, but it's a significant amount of women that I'm seeing from a clinical standpoint that are stuck in a dogma of nutrition and suffering. Especially if you've had children, you may need to rely on animal foods just because of the nutrient density of those foods, like liver, for example, like ghee, like grass fed butter. And so that nutritionally, when you can combat overall undernourishment, that's going to help you replete all your levels, not just low iron.
Thank you. That is okay. So she said she started a nonprofit for the undeserved, so she will be in contact. Yes, because first of all, those courses sound A1. I'm I'm gonna need to. I mean, look into this myself because what is happening? Oh my gosh, no, but for real. She said pescatarian has helped me a lot. I did pescatarian for a little bit as well. I kind of go back and forth between a vegetarian, pescatarian, eating meat, like just trying to find the balance, like for my body and
Mhm.
figuring out what makes me have more energy, what doesn't make me feel as bloated. It's a real struggle sometimes, but I'm definitely gonna take in the information, and I really need to crack my book open. Really, I need to crack that open. Get some
Yeah.
information.
I think it changes so much. And I just think
Mhm.
attached to one way of eating can just keep you from evolving. Um,
Yeah,
our bodies change. And so
yeah,
there's weeks where I'm mainly eating vegetables, and there's weeks
mhm,
where I'm more limited and I'm more focused on
right,
medicinal healing broths with bones and herbs and veggies, and I'm creating broth and I'm eating some fatty cuts of meat, and that's like the main thing my body's craving that
yeah,
week. And so I've just decided, like, I'm a what Yasmine needs to eat. That's what I
right,
am.
right, and I think that's most important, just listening to yourself, your body, because
Mhm.
the spiritual journey is our self journey. It's not everybody else and what
Mhm.
everybody else feels journey. Is about what's best for us and what we need. So I
Absolutely.
definitely agree with that.
Mhm.
Definitely agree with that. Well, I have definitely enjoyed this conversation so much. Just so much knowledge. You're so pleasant, so beautiful. Like, and it just, and just the amount of passion that you have put into this, it is really so inspiring. And everybody loves you. So this is amazing. But do you have anything else that you wanted to add? Because I feel like we need to go ahead and wrap it up, so that everybody can go back and watch the replay. you know, because people have short attention spans, and they're gonna be like, "Wait a minute." They're gonna get sidetracked or something. We want them to watch it all the way through. So,
I will just say thank you so much for having me.
yeah.
And, we all come from different backgrounds. And mine, I grew up in the church. I grew up Seventh-day Adventist. And being able to sing and worship and pray and commune with God just was something I was taught from a young age. And even though now I have evolved and I have an even deeper understanding of, like, what is God? What does it mean to be made in the image of God?
Mhm.
And that is a real thing. When you look at the tree of life, the tree of life, whether you're looking at the Kabbalah tree of life with the Jewish mysticism, whether you go into ancient India, they have a tree of life and they talk about what's called the Mahavidyas. These are the mothers of creation. When you look at Ifa, and the Yoruba tradition and many African religions. When you look at ancient Egypt and Kemet, they all had some resemblance of the tree of life. And for me, that became a unifying factor to understand that all of this comes from somewhere, and where it comes from is the very blueprint of the Creator itself. And so we are literally made in that image. And what's so beautiful about that is that means that the same power that's in the God consciousness is within us. And we are that drop of the ocean, right? And so I just want to encourage everyone, no matter where you may be in your spiritual journey and your physical healing journey, emotionally speaking, to just remember that you have access to the divine power that created all things. It's right here. You don't have to look any further. And that means that you can overcome any challenge that's in front of you, no matter what it may be. And I want you to be encouraged. On the physical side, do not shy away from seeking out support. Our intrusive thoughts might tell us that we don't need help or it's not that bad. You may think, I don't want to add another bill to my life. Our intrusive thoughts can say so many things, but don't let those thoughts win. You can ask for help, you deserve help, and help is here, already here. So if you need that support, come on in. It's available. And if it's not with me, please find somewhere, and don't heal in isolation.
I love that. Do not heal in isolation.
Mhm.
Don't do it alone. I love it. Well, I so appreciate you once again for coming on the Spiritual Growth Podcast. We have truly enjoyed this conversation, and I will be back next week with another podcast episode, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Please make sure y'all go ahead and share it out because we need everybody to see this. All right, y'all. Bye.
Bye.